This is a Buddhist temple, the inner sanctum of a new fighting art. There are now more than 1 million people who follow its teachings and train in its formidable skills. These young men have come here to study, training to be masters and missionaries for the sect. The temple complex where they live is large, a modern version of the traditional layout. The huge halls are only filled by followers on special days. During most of the year, the 40 students and staff use only a small fraction of the space for prayers and fighting practice. The temple is built on Shikoku, a large island about 400 miles south of Tokyo. The students lead disciplined lives. After the dawn prayers, their day is divided between practicing fighting techniques and studying the Shorinji Kempo teachings on Buddhism. They attempt to return to what they think the Buddha actually taught, rather than the beliefs that succeeding generations have added. The religious instruction is by a Buddhist monk, Master Suzuki.
本来仏教というものは釈迦がゴータマ・ブッダが説いた時には生きている人間が自分の努力を少しずつ積み重ねてその自分の中に宿されている素晴らしい霊性というか可能性のようなものを最大限に発揮して生きていてよかったと。少しでも努力をすることによって、人生のその真実真理に目覚めることができると。
There are 2 instructors of fighting at the temple, Master Arai and his senior, Master Yamasaki. As well as teaching the students, they themselves practice, always working out new fighting sequences, using the most advanced techniques. Shorinji Kempo teaches that this sort of fighting practice is a form of prayer. This mixture of fighting and religion existed for centuries at the Shaolin Temple in China. There, the Buddhist monks practice fighting, and their techniques are still to be seen in Chinese fighting systems. This new Japanese system is inspired by those monks. In fact, its name, Shorinji Kempo, translated from Japanese, means the fist way of Shaolin Temple. The founder of Shorinji Kempo, Doshin So, based his fighting system on what he believed to be the way that the Chinese monks fought. He also added many techniques from other systems, especially Aikido, Judo and Karate. The result is a potent fighting art. Most of the students are university graduates who have also studied Shorinji Kempo intensely. They spend 1 or 2 years at the temple, and at the end of that time they emerge as fully qualified instructors. They are not permitted to make instructing a profitable career, so are expected to earn their living in other ways. They pay fees to study here. Many of them work part-time on the premises doing office work. Others take jobs in the local town, often working in restaurants in the evening. Most of the students are Japanese, and all of them must have black belts in Shorinji Kempo before they enter the temple. When they've warmed up, they try short sequences of fighting moves with a partner. The Indian style of peaceful salutation reminds them that they must not injure each other. No contact is permitted in practice, but they must strike as close to their partner as they can. The fighting system, the religious beliefs, and the rules still governing the lives of his followers were all laid down by Do-shin-so before he died in 1981. His memorial statue looks out over the vineyards and rice fields of the island of Shikoku. It was important to Do-shin-so that his headquarters should be far away from the centers of sophisticated life. He felt that anyone who wanted to share the experience of the temple should be prepared to make a pilgrimage to it. He also planned that the students should cut themselves off entirely from their previous lives. Their time at the temple should be dedicated to living the complete Shorinji Kempo philosophy, and this would be easier for them in the simple country society of Shikoku. The governor of the island sympathized with these ideas and made it possible for enough land to be given to Do-shin-so to provide a site for the temple. The local community was also pleased, since it created work and income for them. The willing performance of humble tasks is part of the teaching in Buddhism that the students are given. They do all the menial work at the temple. They give up everything to serve the organization, behaving as acolytes, humbled before their seniors. Not only must they do their work, they must do it perfectly. Not even a leaf must be allowed to escape. Every day the students spend about 2 hours keeping the temple clean, about 3 hours in fighting training, and about the same studying the theory and practice of Buddhism.
かなり想像やその後の禅宗発達史の経過を踏まえた上で、俗高僧伝によればですね、バラッカ海峡を越えて、
As well as Buddhism, they study the life story of Bodhidharma, the Indian monk who, according to legend, went to the Shaolin Temple and there taught the Chinese monks fighting techniques.
関東ここへ上陸したと。
Do-shin-so first saw the Great Wall paintings at the Shaolin Temple during the 1930s. He was working as an intelligence agent for Japan, studying Chinese martial arts as part of his cover. These paintings of Indian and Chinese monks practicing fighting techniques inspired him to try to create again both the system of fighting and the lifestyle of the monks.
状態をもっと大きく使おう。手だけになってるから大きく。
Do-shin-so studied the paintings and copied techniques from them. He also used the ancient Hindu symbol of fruitfulness that Hitler perverted as the swastika.
手が死んでる。張って。
はい。
The mural shows that besides using ways of striking, the Shaolin monks were taught that by twisting and jerking the hand, wrist or arm, a man could be thrown. Even if he didn't hit the ground, an attacker could be kept at bay by putting a lock on.
そうそうそうそう。低い低い。
The mural was painted in the 18th century, about 1,000 years later than the legendary teachings of the Chinese by Indians.
あとどうフォローするかっていうのはこの体ですっとっていくわけ。
As far as possible, the life shown in the Shaolin Temple mural has been recreated for the students.
あるかな。書いてになったらもう終わりよ。これじゃダメです。でもすると食の段階でこう入っていこうとするとね、挟んで取ろうとする。もしくは足一本出しといてから取ろうとする。2動作にも3動作になってね、手間がものすごくかかってるわけだ。実際どうするかっていうと、行った時に引くのと入るのがもちろん入ります。引くのと入るのと一緒です。ガッと引き込む時にこれじゃ効きようがないよな。だから引き込みながら落ちながら引き打ち挟みさらに下に打ち込むと落ちるという状態、ね、巻き天秤にちょっと変化してみよう。軽くバーンと落ちるかどうかというね、その間の取り方。
The Shorinji Kempo temple is set on a hill above the small town of Tadotsu. At the end of the war, when Japanese society collapsed, the gangsters of the black market terrorized towns like this. Do-shin-so also lived by trading in the black market, but without violence against the general public. He led teams of vigilantes against the gangsters and cleaned up a number of towns. In the process, he tested and refined his fighting system and got involved in politics. It was in Tadotsu that he first started teaching Shorinji Kempo. His first big dojo is still in use in the town. There, the townspeople and their children train regularly with the students from the temple. In the beginning, Doshin-so did not plan to create a large organization. He intended to be a teacher of his interpretation of Buddhism. However, he found he could attract young followers by teaching them fighting and then move on to philosophy. His first dojo was a small room in his house, with just enough space to teach one student while the others watched through the doorway. He taught a vigorous Buddhism, encouraging his followers to stand up for themselves and fight back, a very attractive message at a time of post-war humiliation. The movement has also been a financial success, helped by the fact that in Japan, a religious organization is exempt from taxes. The untaxed income from over 1 million followers is substantial. The children learn under the same rigorous discipline, the same basic techniques as the adults. Although the children don't use much force on each other, many experts disapprove of twisting young wrists or applying any pressure to growing joints. In memory of Doshin-so's death, each month the staff and students meet to pray in the room where he died. When he was 17, he went to China on military service, which developed into his intelligence work for the Japanese government. He was in China from 1928 to 1945. After the war, he married, and his wife remembers how he preferred a modest lifestyle.
ですからあくまでも中国にいました時も特務機関にいましたけれど、本当に影の力っていうか派手なことが嫌いでした。ですから地味に地味に、そして自分の生活は他にちゃんと家庭がありましたからでなくて、なんて言うんですかね、若い人たちを集めて、その少林寺拳法を手段として若い人を集めて、それで人間教育を始めた。それはもう最初の頃は大変な苦労だったと思います。どういうふうにしてそれをこなしたかって言われるとなかなか難しいですけれど。
When Doshin-so died in 1981 at the age of 70, it was important to find a successor to lead Shorinji Kempo. The committee running the organization chose his 22-year-old daughter, although she doesn't practice the fighting techniques due to an injury when she was young. She took her father's title of Kancho. As a child, she was always close to her father, and when she grew up, she traveled with him into China.
一人ね、その開祖が44年前にそのスーダンに行った時に接客係、接待、お客様の接待をする係をしてたっていうね、その頃は小僧さんだったんですけども、そういうお坊さんがいたんです。それでスーダンに第1回目に行った時に初めて開祖とその人が対面したんですけどもね。
She relies heavily upon her father's memory for her credibility as leader. The sect is in the process of making a cult of Doshin-so, to try and fill the vacuum left by his death. He himself believed that what he taught was more important than any individual, but to his followers, he is the founder of a new Buddhist sect. So now at the temple, there is a museum of personal effects connected with his life.
「ご覧のように私は坊主でございます。これは中国でなった坊主でして、一種の制作坊主で、日本のような儀式坊主や葬式坊主ではないのでございまして、私のあだ名は昔から喧嘩坊主の方が通っておりまして、道場という言葉もこれは本来が仏教の用語な、道の場と書きましてね、本当の仏教というものは決して今のように死んだ人を弔ったり、おまじないをしたり、病気を治したり、そんなものじゃなかったと思うんです。人間が人間として生きるためにどうしたらいいかということを基本にして、人間尊重を中心に生きた人に対する教えであったはずなのにだ、いつの間にかどっかで在来のシャーマニズムの影響で逸脱してしまったと思うのです。見つきませんうちに私顔役になったわけ。悪いやつが勝手なことをしているね、はい、弱いやつは泣き寝入りするっていうのはもう我慢ならんたちだから、はい、
じゃあまず初めは喧嘩に強くなることから。
喧嘩に強くなるというよりも言いたいことを言う、はい、自分を守るということが前提でなければね、はい、これは生きていけませんよ。
やっぱり人間したいということになりますね。
そうですね。特に戦争中ね、日本人の悪い傾向ね、はい、精神力って言うけどね、これは嘘でしてね、はい、精神力もこれは必要だけれども肉体も必要。ただしバカではしょうがありませんからね。
そうですね。ということは少林寺拳法っていうのは私たちはどういうふうに受け止めたらいいんですか？
体と心と共に鍛える一つの方法と考えていただいたらいいと思いますね。でそういう時に
Once a year, Shorinji Kempo goes on display in Tokyo. Followers come from all over Japan to perform in front of distinguished guests on this day. The guests include well-known figures from Japanese business and politics, most of them from the right wing, old friends and supporters of Doshin-so. The media focus on the new Kancho. She is always newsworthy, just as her father was. It's on this day that the importance of Shorinji Kempo is revealed. The size of its following, the fighting skill of its practitioners, and the sense of mission make it clear that the organization could be a force to be reckoned with in Japanese society. So far, it has remained a moral force. The prayers that are always part of any function were written by Doshin-so. Perhaps the most important of all these guests is Mr. Sasakawa. He is one of the most powerful and richest men in Japan. president of a karate organization with 8 million members. He was a close friend of Doshin So's and, like him, very far to the right in politics.
人間は生きるためには2つの栄養がいる。肉体に対しては食料である。魂に対しても栄養がいる。どんな人間が立派な服装を整え、どんな立派な顔をしておっても、礼と節と義理と人情と親孝行を知らない者は、これは立派な人間とは言えない。
It is still within the religious content of the day's proceedings that Master Arai and Master Yamasaki performed their rehearsed fighting display, called a gyo. In a religion where to fight is to pray, this level of skill is evidence of the deepest devotion.
行というのは端的に言えば自分と相手とが共に拝み合いながら技を作っていく、その技を作る過程、一つのものを仕上げていこうと努力をする攻撃防御がお互いにその技を掛け合う中で、2人で私も強くなりたい、だからあなたも強くなろうよという両方が同じところを目指していく。それは本来仏教の言う、専門の言葉で言うと上愚菩提下家修行、上は幸せの実現を目指して、自分が努力をする。
In more practical terms, gyo is the way in which the students develop the new techniques they are taught. Every day they practice as a regular pair. These two students are combining basic techniques with the sophisticated leg trap and throw they have recently studied. The roll out of the leg trap is actually more difficult to master than the throw itself. During practice, the movements are made very lightly, almost like a ballet, but they are powerful fighting techniques. Anyone who doesn't know how to roll out of it will be severely injured by the throw.
要するに自分が傷つかない、殺されないために相手を傷つけ殺すという手段が本来武道の本質であったはずなんです、最初は。でそういうところから進んでいくと勝ち負けの自分が生き残るために、自分が勝利を得るために自分以外はみんな敵だと、自分が勝つためにはどういう手段をとっても構わないんだというところへ行きますね。武技とか武術という技術はそういう身を守る手段である以上、それは当然やむを得ないことなんですね。でしかしそれをそのように修行することによって現代人を憎み、自分以外を全部敵と考えるようなそういう偏った狼のような人間が育つ可能性があるわけですね。
The pair gradually build up more and more moves, practicing until a rhythm is created and they flow from one to the next. The movements grow faster until there is no time for thought. Only automatic reflexes guide the partners. Periods of rest and calm are essential between the bouts, and great concentration must be used to avoid injury. There are strict rules that they must follow. The gear must not last more than 3 minutes and contain 4 separate sections of fighting. Do Shin-so understood and used the strength of comradeship that these intense sessions of practice create. Many hours spent searching for perfection make a strong bond between performers, and pairs often work together for many years. Not only is a gyo a prayer, they also use it in sporting competition. Kazuhiro Kawashima and Atsushi Muraoka bring their gyo to compete against other pairs in Tokyo. They came second out of the 10 advanced pairs who reached the final. Not all of the most advanced experts in Shorinji Kempo live at the main temple. Most of the advanced masters throughout Japan lead working lives, teaching in their spare time. Master Bando is one of these. He works for Japan's railway system. He uses a Buddhist temple as his training dojo. Master Bando is not just a master of Shorinji Kempo. He is also a leading authority on one particular section of techniques. He goes regularly to the main temple to lecture. His subject is shiatsu, the Japanese variation on acupuncture, which uses the pressure of thumbs rather than needles to cure its patients. Shorinji Kempo is maintaining the ancient tradition of combining the functions of its masters so that they are doctors as well as fighters. In addition to studying the pressure points of shiatsu, the students are also taught the manipulation of bones and muscles. This is similar to the techniques practiced in the West by osteopaths.
前も私説明したと思うんで、比喩な、これは頸椎の肩の下の方のこれから上がってる。
Since the students practice so violently, they are constantly causing one another minor damage.
側の方から先を押してくださいな。あと乳葉後突起その部分から下へずっと押して。 欠盆まで押してもらう。これも一緒です。なぜか。
These are techniques that can be used on anybody who needs help. They are general medical treatments.
はい、息する。はい、吐きます。はい、肩を出して。責任問題にならんわけ。
The same knowledge of the body that heals it can also be used to attack it.
時にはそれが中風になる。 これ中風ももちろん痛いわけね。だけど中風をかけて力を打ったんですよ。気管ね。その時に今度下がってきたわけね。
Just the pressure of Master Bando's thumb is enough to incapacitate a strong man.
その周囲への攻め方っていうのを今日一つやってもらいたい。だから何分大きいこの外人さんでも一緒だ。 ですよ。この大きい人に我々はこれ持っていく必要ないよな。下の位置で攻めたらええんやけども、まあ一応参考までもごめんだけどむやみやたらに後ろに向けてこの大きい人間を教えたと知らんか俺はしとるわけ。角度が違うわけだからやっぱり当て身のご要素も一緒ね。角度をちょっと
This is the secret knowledge shared by masters in India, China and Japan and taught only to the very advanced students. It is based on the acupuncture points that are not used in healing techniques. They can be used to make an extremely simple hold very effective. When Master Bando only applies pressure to the student's wrist, it has no effect. But when he presses on the exact location of a vital point with one of his fingers, the student cannot resist.
その取り方を一回やってみてください。はい。
The vital points can only be used by very skilled people, since they require great precision to be effective.
進行形の世の中にやったら必ずそうなんね。それでも一緒に頑張っていく頑張れ頑張れ。
As part of their training, Master Bando also teaches the students how to revive people who are unconscious. As he is a thorough and conscientious teacher, he first renders a student unconscious. These resuscitations are achieved by using the creative medical shiatsu techniques. It's important for the students to learn them since very dangerous accidents can happen while people are practicing. If the student is in charge of a dojo, then injuries are his responsibility.
Thank you.
軽く言うてよ。
Master Bando demonstrates how easy it is to knock someone out using a vital point. The blow was not powerful. Its effect comes from the precision he used to strike the exact point. Although he is skilled enough to use these techniques on trained students, they are extremely dangerous. So much so that he would not even let them practice on each other.
今は後ろ行きましたからね。腕なんか組んだりしたような場合こうして。これは人形だわけ。これな。落ち着いて冷静沈着にするよね。おい。あ、いなかった。朝で首を見ます。はい。はい、すみません。陣形とかスイートってね、そのままの一応今のは私がしたのはね、これを練るとね、だけど硬いね、その三日月とかね、だけどこの人もっと違うのがでかいでしょ。な、またこんな届くはずがね、まあ水源といたってあの人みたいに鍛えとるしてたら到底ダメやから。だけどこの風刺とかね、ふっとその部分をな、それからパーン叩くんだよ。な。そういうふうに二段構えでいったり、だから背が大きいみたいなんじゃないで、あの人みたいな大きいとビビる必要ない。 まあ、それで金手蹴ったりしたらな、またもうよその国の人が家庭葬儀が起こったら困るから。
Doshin So's lifelong study of Buddhism and the martial arts led to the birth of a new fighting system sustained by religious belief. Shorinji Kempo is rich, politically powerful, and united in a sense of mission. But its founder is dead. Its future in Japan and worldwide is incalculable.